And we are back on the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey here. No live on Monday because of all the bad weather, but we're live again on Tuesday, back in the office. Pin poll, since last time we were live was for the Christian Parker hiring. Having had some time to think about it, do you like the hire? Y for yes, N for no. 97% voting yes. I don't know the last time the Cowboys made a hire, period, and it was that high of a figure. I don't even think Clayton Adams got that much of a unanimous voting side of it. 96%, still really good. Go vote. Y for yes, N for no in the comments section of today's show. If you like the hiring of Christian Parker, Y for yes, N for no. Yeses from Jason, Jorge, Anthony, Carl, Rex, Creed, Bearlax, and more. All yeses in the live chat. With a $5 super chat coming in from Terry Harps. With the hire of Parker, do we take Delane over Styles at 12 so Parker gets his guy? Also need Jerry to help this defense and Parker out in free agency. Unanimous agreement on that second part. They have to help him out there. Honestly, that decision might be made for you. I don't know if both those guys are there for you at 12. I think there's a real chance one, if not both, are gone. I think a lot of what you do at 12 does come down to, okay, what do you do in free agency? Like, do you help out the defense in some capacity so you can take the best player available? I like Styles a lot. I like Mansoor Delane a lot. It wouldn't be a surprise if in year one, the Cowboys, if Delane's there, go, if Parker wants him, yeah, that's the route they go. That would not surprise me. Wouldn't be shocked if they just picked Sonny Styles to give them a stud linebacker as well. So what is your confidence level in Christian Parker building a staff on defense here? No hires as of filming. Wouldn't be stunned if a hire or two happened today. Then again, I do wonder if the bad weather in Dallas actually did delay the timelines a little bit. I wonder how many Zoom-only interviews they'd do and hire them. I wonder if they would want some in-person just to finalize it even. So confidence level in Christian Parker building what might be an entirely new defensive coaching staff this year. 8, 9.5, 10, 8, 9, 8, 9, 6.7, 8.5, 6, 10, 8. F at 10, 9, 8.34, 8.34, 8, 8.5, 8, 9, 9-ish. I hope a 9. Good numbers there. Keep the comments coming, your confidence level in Christian Parker building a staff. This is the super chat menu, by the way, on today's show. Any super is a shout out. $20 will be the shot. You got some left still. I'll have to make a new batch soon, which is just a good sign. $50 for the beer bong here on the Cowboys Report. Plus, whatever super chat you send, no matter what, we'll put it up on screen, give you some love as well. One of the things we'll discuss on today's live show is trade candidates for the Dallas Cowboys, and if Dallas will ship out a player to acquire some rather light extra draft capital, even how light they are, I should say. So will a trade happen? This could be adding a player too, but A for yes, B for no. Will the Cowboys make a trade? A or B? What's up, Aiden? That's AP. Get it?
One of the names that came up that fits that prototypical corner mold for the Cowboys during the trade deadline was Reek Woolen. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to revisit with you now, knowing where they are, how he's played in this playoffs. Is he even still available, really?
Well, he'll be a free agent. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks did elect to move on from him. He's been Reek Woolen, I guess, is maybe the best. He had a couple nice pass breakups in the playoffs. I also don't think he had the best game against the Rams. He got beat a couple times. Granted, that was kind of a high-scoring affair. He's just been so inconsistently in the lineup for this team or for that team. He's also been pretty bad as a tackler this year. I do wonder how much that's going to matter. In the end, I would bet someone thinks back, well, we can get the interceptions out of him again. And someone ends up paying him a little bit more in the end. Good A's in there. Creed says A for Aiden, by the way. Bald Sasquatch says yes, but it better not be George Pickens. So Gerald says a first and Osa for TJ Watt. Hot take? That's too much. Like for this team with the way they are constructed.
I would agree.
Because now I got to go get another defensive tackle to help out and like play real snaps because I don't need a DT as constructed. If I lose one of those guys, I kind of do need another defensive tackle. Now I'm better at edge, but I'm also down a first-round pick and a starter. That's a lot for this team as constructed. So, will the Cowboys make a trade? A for yes, B for no. The Herbig trade idea has been out there for a long time. There's no sourcing on it. It's just like, well, wouldn't this be fun for the Cowboys? Which I get. They've invested in Alex Highsmith. They've invested in TJ Watt. Like, Herbig does make some sense. I'm curious what their approach will be with their new DC, who they end up hiring on that front.
If they hire the Steelers outside linebackers coach, that very well could be the destination.
Instant connection. So are you guys excited for the Cowboys offseason? If you are, show it by liking today's video, please and thank you. Remember, it could always be worse. As frustrated as we are sometimes by this organization, at least we're not the Jets. You keep Tanner Enstrand who had to deal with Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor and Brady Cook for an entire year. Of course, the offense stunk when Garrett Wilson got hurt in particular. And then you kind of string them along for almost an entire month and then go, actually, we're going to fire you to eventually bring in what sounds like Frank Reich? What are you doing? What on earth are you possibly doing that makes a lick of sense? It's just a very strange situation for the Cowboys or for the Jets, and just reeks of they're gonna fire that coach next year. Like that's what this reeks of right now, and not in a good way either. So, if you're excited for the Cowboys offseason, show it by liking the video, please and thank you. More likes, more views, more success here on the Cowboys Report. $5 from Anthony. What is the most likely outcome for the defensive tackle room? Can we expect all three top guys back on restructures or extensions? And what are your thoughts will happen? If we believe the Cowboys, what they've said, kind of hinted at publicly, which, sometimes we can't always do that. But I would expect extension for Kenny Clark. I would extend Quinnen Williams, too, because he's only got 2 years left on his deal. Restructure could also be in the cards with the way that deal was structured from his time in New York. And then easy restructure on Osa feels like the safest of all of them. It's very straightforward, very easy, already built into the contract to do and structured to do as such. I would think they're all back. I don't want them all back on their current cap hits. That's too much. And then Kenny Clark in particular is the one like, okay, that's a lot of money for 1 year of play. Can you do an extension that lowers the cap hit? You still pay it to him, but it's spread out, and in the long run, it probably saves you money versus, extending him next year or something. And then Quinnen just feels like, just do it. He's your best player now, or at least one of your best players. Just get it done. Coming up on today's show, we will run through some Cowboys free agency rumors, a couple different names being linked to Dallas. A Daniel Jeremiah mock draft, which don't love that one, frankly. Not my most favorite mock draft in the end. A Cowboys mailbag, 2 ways to get in on the show there. Use hashtag Cowboys, or like William Cook just did, super chat to skip the line altogether and get in on the show. And we will run through who I think are the top Cowboys trade candidates out there, of guys that I think if you wanted to get some draft picks back, the guys who somewhat realistically have value and you would actually be able to move, because you could get a bunch of picks back for CeeDee Lamb, but why would you do that, for example? William Cook, a $10 super chat with all the new DCs. How tough will it be to fill out the coaching staff? I don't think that much more challenging than the way it normally is. There's always coaching movement, and a lot of these assistants operate on 2-year deals as opposed to 3-year deals, so there's not as much team swing. That's the case with Marcus Dixon, by the way. He was on a 2-year deal. So I don't think it'll be overly challenging. There might be some competition. Marcus Dixon might have interest from Durante Jones, the new Commanders DC, but I think they'll be able to fill the staff out. Maybe they don't get every single guy they wanted in the end. They get blocked by some people or for some people, but I think they'll be able to handle it there. One more time, the reminder of what's coming up. Free agency rumors. Daniel Jeremiah mock draft. If you haven't seen it, some of you guys might not like it. Most of you guys might not like it. A mailbag. Get your questions in now via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. And we will run through some Cowboys trade candidates. Marks92, we'll get to your super chat that just came in here after the first segment here on today's live Cowboys Report. So stay tuned. We're talking Cowboys free agency rumors on today's show. These four are the players we'll discuss today. A lot of them, all of them linked by one particular outlet in the end. Devin Bush, the Browns linebacker. Nakobe Dean, the Eagles linebacker. Tyler Allgeier, the Falcons running back. And Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals defensive end. Now, outside free agents only, you can't count George Pickens if he gets tagged or extended or Javonte Williams or whatever. Outside free agents, not on the team this past year, how many will the Dallas Cowboys end up signing? I bet it'll be a lot on defense. Get those predictions in for me in the comments section of today's show. Let's go to what PFF predicted, or at least listed as the top fit for Devin Bush, the Browns linebacker. I am intrigued by this one to an extent because it fits some of what the Cowboys like to do. I think there is some iffy logic, though. Here's what PFF's Mason Cameron wrote. They were ranking the top 10 graded players and their best fits for him. It says the Cowboys have been known to take swings on former first-round picks. True. And Bush could be next. Dallas ranked 28th in EPA per play allowed on designed runs and also surrendered the 7th most yards per carry. Adding Bush to play alongside Logan Wilson, who was acquired at the trade deadline but didn't find his footing under now fired defense coordinator Matt Eberflus, should net improvements to the group. So for starters, not sure Logan Wilson ends up coming back. In fact, I would lean towards him not being retained, at least at his current cap hit and contract as constructed. You could save $6+ million there. Also, not sure why you didn't mention DeMarvion Overshown. That feels like a miss to a pretty noteworthy extent there. I also would then kind of question, okay, how well does he fit? Bush is not the Cowboys' typical linebacker size. He's always been a smaller guy. He's 5'11", 235. But he is super athletic, and he was, by the way, very good this past year for the Cleveland Browns. It was a massive bounce-back season alongside Carson Wessinger, benefiting from a very good Browns front. And Jim Schwartz tends to bring four and have success with it. Thought he was better in pass coverage as well. And there's a very long list of free agent linebackers who have some experience. And Bush this past year was at his best in Cleveland. A lot better than what he was in Pittsburgh, in Seattle. I think that element of being on an upward arc of late does matter. I think this Cowboys linebacker room in general is going to look a lot different. Leofau will be there. Shamar James will be there. Overshown. Justin Barron will be there. Barron's going to fight for a roster spot. I don't know if Logan Wilson's going to return. Savings-wise, feels kind of easy to just move on from. And I hope that Murray and Sanborn are not back, and you can really overhaul that room with a veteran and a draft pick, potentially. Now, I want you guys to name a player who you want to sign. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Especially a linebacker, I fully expect to see a lot of Nakobe Dean. Pretty much when the second they hire Christian Parker, everyone in the comment section, correctly, the writers, podcasters, YouTubers, you name it, are like, hey, this is a name that makes sense. Dean also smaller than what the Cowboys typically have preferred at linebacker, but clearly fits for the most part what the Eagles and Christian Parker did last year, and in theory what they'll do this year. Production was down a little bit this year. This does feel like somebody who will actually hit the open market as well, just because the Eagles have Jahad Campbell. They have Zach Bond. Dean's got plenty of talent, fell in the draft originally because of medical issues. The 2024 campaign, though, was pretty darn good. 128 tackles, 9 TFLs, 3 sacks. Can't always judge based on tackles, but at TFL ratio is, let's just say it's a lot better than what Kenneth Murray was putting together. Granted, the bar in this case is the floor, but I think that point remains nonetheless. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the year out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups, when you play your first $5. Speaking of the big game, one of the prize picks lineups as cooked up by Jack Lotteray. More than Drake May, a half passing touchdown. Less than rushing yards from Ramondre Stevenson. And more than passing yards for Sam Darnold. With the new social feeds feature, you can share prize picks lineups with friends, copy them from your friends with a single click, or edit them and kind of use them as inspiration. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports picks app. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. So many out there have understandably tied Nakobe Dean to the Cowboys as a potential free agent target. I think it makes a lot of sense. They have an obvious need at linebacker. Dean knows the Christian Parker system. You normally see one or two guys come over from the last defensive coordinator's job to help out, help adjust the system, add some talent, add some impact. I think the 2024 version of Dean would be an upgrade over pretty much anything the Cowboys had at linebacker this past year. And I think he actually hits free agency. Does that mean the Cowboys sign him? We'll see what they actually do with Jerry Jones's not great spending ways, but certainly Nakobe Dean is a name to monitor for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go to Tyler Allgeier, the Falcons running back, going back to our friends over at PFF, listed the Cowboys as the top landing spot for the Falcons back. Mason Cameron again wrote with Williams to enter free agency, although with the possibility of returning to Dallas, the Cowboys should invest more into this backfield. Although he's been overshadowed by Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, Allgeier is quietly one of the NFL's most productive running backs. His 84.0 PFF grade ranks top 5 among qualifying backs over the last 2 seasons, while also not giving up, a single fumble in that span. As a premier zone runner, Allgeier would fit well within the Cowboys' inside zone-heavy scheme. They were, I will say, a lot more multiple this past year up front. They did not just run up the middle over and over and over again the same way that they did in the past. This is kind of where I start to go okay, I get you have your grades, PFF, but hey, are you actually doing a good job of that? I don't think, especially this past year, I don't think Allgeier was actually that good. The yards after contact were actually quite similar to the yards overall in terms of per carry numbers, but he's kind of been a little bit streaky, over and over. He got a bunch of red zone runs. That's awesome. I see the 3.6. I go, okay, that's a little bit more, inconsistent than what I would necessarily prefer. Obviously, the offensive line is a huge factor in that conversation, but I don't know. It wasn't the most consistently successful backfield for Allgeier. I think, if you can bring him in cheap, though, and pair him with Javonte Williams, then I start to have a lot of interest there. I'm not really trying to just let Allgeier be plugged in as the lead back and buy the dip like they did with Javonte Williams again. At that point, I've already kind of just want to ride it out with Javonte, big picture-wise, and, not panic into anything on that front. But I am intrigued by Allgeier as a 1B or a 2, not replacing Javonte as the 1 or the 1A. If you haven't already hit that sub button, we are approaching 243,000 subscribers here on the Cowboys Report. Want more free videos? Hit that sub button right now. Over to the big name, one of the top free agents out there. Pro Football Network, the Cowboys would sign defensive end Trey Hendrickson, who is coming off a down year in large part due to injury, which also kind of complicates things in terms of what his market value is actually going to look like. And frankly, I don't have a great feel for that. In the previous couple of years, it was 17.5 sacks without fail. He was not the greatest run defender. That's okay when you get 17 sacks and a good pressure rate, and you were the one consistent disruptor on the Bengals front. But now, when you're coming off your age 31 season, you're coming off a hip/hernia injury, and you didn't have as good of a year, well, what are you actually worth? And that might make it palatable for the Cowboys. But teams are desperate for edge help, and if he'd been healthy, he'd have gotten $25, $30, $35 million per year. Now, is it half that? I honestly don't know. So would you sign Trey Hendrickson? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I am intrigued by the idea of the Cowboys going out and adding Trey Hendrickson in free agency. They have to spend some money for once. He has been an impactful player over the course of his NFL career, and he's really good when healthy. But I don't know how healthy he is. So is it possible at all for the Cowboys to be able to land Hendrickson on a relatively affordable, relatively fair one-year prove-it deal? You know, Robert Quinn was a trade, but could you do something along those lines for the Cowboys at defensive end? If the answer is yes, I have interest. If Hendrickson's able to actually max out his market and get, 3 years, $90 million from somebody, that's just not going to be in the Cowboys' budget, self-imposed or not. But is he affordable? I think the age and medical make it more likely than it would have been had he been healthy. But it's still a wild card in the end. Let's talk coaches here. Then we're going to some super chats. A lot of change for the Cowboys. The 4 top defensive assistants for Inkler and Matt Eberflus was Aaron Whitecotton, David Overstreet, Andre Curtis, and Mike Borgonzi are all out already. Whitecotton found a job. He went to the Tennessee Titans as the D-line coach there. Other 3 have not found a job quite yet. Super chats to come. The good ones they're all good. The relevant ones, maybe is better terminology for it, can go in the mailbag after this next segment. Marco says D-Law was right. LMAO. What the hell, man? I hate that he was right, frankly. I hate it. Because I'll be honest, it's not why he left. He left because of the money. But now he gets to say he was right because they made it to the Super Bowl. Parker Freer, if the Cowboys don't draft a right tackle, would they consider moving Guyton to right tackle? Then who's your left tackle? Because I can't be Nathan Thomas right now, and not after what I saw last year. That was bad. Like I don't want to do that again. If it's Tyler Smith, okay, then who's your left guard? Is TJ Bass on an RFA deal? That's, I guess, fine. But that's also then 3 new starters on the offensive line and kind of getting complicated. So we'll see what they do. I would kind of just like lean towards keep Guyton at left tackle. He was playing borderline good before he got hurt, and certainly a lot better than Nate Thomas was. He just got to stay healthy, and that's a question mark now, which does concern me. Roman Wolf Gaming, how come no one is talking about Romello Height? He's at the Senior Bowl this week, / today. I already saw one clip of him doing some good stuff. His teammate's better. I think Height is probably more of a top 50-ish pick than like a top 32 pick, but he could sneak into that top 32 range. Wouldn't surprise me. That back end round 1 edge rushing room or options, he's certainly in that conversation. Terry Harps teasing the Daniel Jeremiah mock draft we'll get to here in a little bit. The start was bad for the Cowboys. Leave it at that. Ryan Burns, $2. Think Dallas would draft Jeremiah Love. Is he there for you? My answer is no, probably not. And it kind of becomes the Bijan conversation where he doesn't get to you, and it's not really a big deal. If he does get to you, did you address your needs on defense? Because let's say, hypothetically, Sonny Styles and Jermod McCoy passes the medicals, and he's there, and Jeremiah Love is there. Love might be higher on your board, but can you pass on the defensive piece, or did you not address those needs yet? Roman Wolf Gaming, sign Linderbaum, Hendrickson, Dean. Trade next year's 1 and this year's 1. Can't trade next year's 1. You cannot trade next year's first-round pick. That is, you made the Quinn Williams conditional trade with the Jets, so you can't actually ship that out. So you'd have to trade both ones this year. But I do like the idea of drafting Mansoor, Delane, Jacob, Rodriguez. I don't know if Linderbaum fits what Clayton Adams truly wants to do up front, but I do like the idea of it'd be completely changing the offensive line. It's a fun idea, though. Signing Linderbaum, plugging him in at center, Cooper Beebe to his natural position at right guard, putting Tyler Booker at his natural spot at left guard, and then putting Smith at left tackle, Guyton at right tackle. That's 5 changes, but it's the natural positions, and they all end up kind of keeping their guys, which it's different, but it's fun. William Cook, I think they will keep Steele at a reduced cost. I like it. I would be pleased if they. I think if you can get Steele to say yes to it, because I don't know if you can, because there's going to be a market for him in free agency if he gets cut. The free agent crop is not good. But if he wants to take a $5, $6, whatever it is, $1 million pay cut like that, then the play you're getting for the cost starts to be a lot more balanced. Super chat menu on today's show. Any super is a shout out. $20 is a shot. $50 is a beer bong. Gonna sip my water here. So is Anthony Campanelli. Jack's keeping both their corners. Just NFL news there behind the scenes. So let's get into the next segment on today's show. Sticking with our promise of discussing something draft-related at least once a week here on the Cowboys Report, Daniel Jeremiah always does things his own way with the mock drafts, normally in a good way. We're going to react to the Cowboys picks in his first 2026 NFL mock draft. Teaser, you might not like the picks. Now, if you guys want even more Cowboys mock drafts and draft coverage with 2 first-rounders this year, show it by hitting that sub button right now, please and thank you. Let's go to the picks here in the Daniel Jeremiah mock draft. No surprise, number 1, Fernando Mendoza. Arvell Reese goes number 2 to the Jets. 2 offensive tackles. I'm going, okay, this is good. This is good. It's expected. 1 defender, quarterback, 2 tackles. Fano to Arizona. Now I know to the Titans. Mansoor Delane goes 5 to the Giants. Love him. David Bailey goes 6 to the Browns. Sonny Styles goes 7 to the Commanders, which is noteworthy. I will say on this part, I do think there is a good chance that Styles is off the board in the top 10 this year. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I know he's almost always available in the Sims. I think there is a real chance he goes early. Jeremiah Love goes number 8 to the Saints. Reuben Bain goes number 9 to the Chiefs. Jermod McCoy, another cornerback off the board to the Bengals. And Caleb Downs goes number 11, 1 pick before you, to the Miami Dolphins. And that is pretty much the worst case scenario as we sit here in late January for the Cowboys. No receivers go in the top, 12, including this pick, for the Cowboys. No receivers off the board. 1 quarterback. The tackles went, but it was the running back and all offense after that, and you missed not having Dante Moore. You could have got Caleb Downs pushed to you or somebody else, and that's just not that's where you would want to trade down if you were the Cowboys. I will say, easier said than done, because if all the guys you wanted are off the board, well, who's going to come and get them? Maybe one of the teams wants their first crack at the number 1 receiver, but that is not. If that happens on real draft night, unless someone else emerges, that's the worst case outcome for the Dallas Cowboys. So, will Dallas trade down at 12 or 20 in the NFL draft? Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. So, at pick 12, it is a surprise from Daniel Jeremiah. It was always good for these. Maybe you don't like it, but you know what I mean. Colton Hood, the cornerback out of Tennessee, is the selection here. Here's what DJ wrote. I expect to see Dallas draft an edge rusher in round 1. See pick number 20 in this mock draft. So teaser there from our guy, DJ. But I'd like to see the Cowboys upgrade the secondary too. Hood would be a plug-and-play starter for them. So it is probably one of, if not the absolute best player at this, probably just actually one of, actually at the Senior Bowl. I think right now, though, he's more in the, probably going to be a first-round pick and not quite locked into the will be a first-round pick. He has been a very popular, back end of the first round type of pick. I thought he had a good year for Tennessee, and I think he fits a lot of, what the Cowboys would have some interest in doing. I would almost wonder if, does it make more sense to potentially have, Brandon Cisse as a fit? He's also transferred a lot, and I do wonder what that means for how he's going to be judged. But he broke up a bunch of passes, didn't get beat that bad, pretty good size as well as after being a redshirt sophomore this past year for Tennessee. But that's like, as we sit in January, I can change my mind as we go along, get more info in the pre-draft process. That pick at 20 would be like, that's a little rich for me. At 12, it's like, man, that's not good. That's not what you were hoping for with 2 first-round picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close this season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends, copy them from winners with a single click. For example, this one. Cooked up on my guy Jack Lauderay here at Chat Sports. Drake May, more than a half passing TD. Ramondre Stevenson, less than 52.5 yards on the ground. Sam Darnold, more than 229.5 passing yards. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports pick app today on Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. All right, next up on the DJ mock draft, obviously, you get Colton Hood going number 12. Mekhi Lemon goes 13. Vega Oanye goes to the Ravens at 14. Cassius Howell off the board at 15. Another receiver in Carnell Tate to the Jets. Akeem Mesidor off the board at 17 to the Lions. A guy that I am a big fan of, and I'm glad to see DJ throw some love his way there because not in very many round 1 mock drafts. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo, goes 18 to Minnesota. Jordan Tyson off the board at 19 to the Panthers. At pick 20, you guys might not like this one either, Keldrick Falk, the edge out of Auburn, who the Michael Williams comp is, I think, pretty easy. Here's what Daniel Jeremiah, though, wrote on Falk. Falk is a tough evaluation. He has great size, is a smooth athlete, but I'd like to see him play with a little more urgency. The upside is tremendous. I am a lot more intrigued by Falk at 20 than I am with him at 12, but that boom-bust risk remains, and I actually don't know how strong of a fit he truly is right now with this Cowboys team. I'll come back to that here in a little bit. But I want you guys to grade this NFL mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. It's not my mock draft, so don't be mad at it, but let me know in the comments section of today's show. So the big knock on Falk, and it's a valid one, where was the production this year? 2 sacks, handful of pressures, got his hands up a few times there. I think the thing that Falk did really well, and it shows up on film too, is there was a ton of attention paid to him, and it helped free up the linebackers behind him to make a bunch of plays. And that is a positive thing. And he was more productive in 2024 when he had a lot more pressures and more sacks and more TFLs and looked like a potential top 15 pick in this NFL draft class, but it wasn't as good this year. He has great size. He's 6'6", 285, listed size, see what he checks in at. Maybe it's like 6'5", 275, but that's awesome size. My issue with this, I think the best way to deploy Keldrick Falk right now is to make him a base end who can reduce inside on some passing downs and go be a disruptor. We've seen players, Cam Hayward kind of, sort of, in that same mold. Michael Williams fits that. The problem is, I already have guys who are going to rush from the inside. Kenny Clark, Quentin Williams, Osa Odigizua. I actually kind of want some pure edge speed. So there's upside and downside. Maybe this team isn't in a spot to be drafting another developmental player on defense. They all have to develop, but I think you guys know what I mean. It just makes it worrisome with what they have and don't have on this roster. Other prospects who are on the board, by the way, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, the top 2 tackles. Monroe Freeling and Blake Miller all went in round 1, by the way, of this mock draft. Other defenders, could have taken somebody else and taken Brandon Cisse, Avion Terrell at corner at pick 20. C.J. Allen, I'm higher on him than most, but he did go in this round 1 mock draft. That's plug and play at middle linebacker for you that you kind of need right now. I would not sleep on Dylan Thieneman. I think it is a good safety class with a chance that, outside of Caleb Downs, 1 or 2 more sneak into round 1, plus some other guys that'll go on day 2, including like A.J. Halsey and Kamari Ramsey as options there. But Thieneman, this team's probably not going to take a safety that early, at least maybe Downs. Give me your one-word reaction to this Cowboys mock draft. I'll give you mine here in just a second, but give me your one word in the comments of today's show. My one word is underwhelming. To walk out of 2 first-round picks with maybe even in a different order than what it might become draft day, Colton Hood and Keldrick Falk just doesn't get me hyped about that as much as I would like. You were so close to Caleb Downs. That would have been the dream, right? And this, I think, is a great example of why we want the wide receivers to go early. You want 1 or 2 or all 3 to go in the top 11 to push those defenders down. Maybe a team falls in love with Ty Simpson. Jets, can you save us here? Because you want the guys you're not going to take to go above you to help push down that talent. Because if all those defenders are off the board, you're kind of in a bad spot at number 12. You're kind of exactly where you don't want to be. Mailbag time. 2 ways to get in on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether. The super chat, as I almost missed the straw. It's bent like an embarrassment. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via super chat for our mailbag. What's up, baby? Probably the Daniel Jeremiah focused one. I think the Marks one we kind of already hit, essentially. So with one of the super thanks. I think those are the only 2 we don't have to go to. Reminder of the super chat menu on today's show. Any super chat is a shout out. $20 is a shot, and $50 is the beer bong. No shots and no beer bongs yet on today's show. Still the chance to do it. So get your super chats, your questions in via hashtag Cowboys for today's mailbag. From Travis McLaurin, just says thanks, a $2 super chat. Thank you, Travis. CJ DeYoung III, I always have a hankering for more cowbell. In reference to the cowbell joke from SML, I love that skit. It's a great one I made on a recent video. And then CJ asking about Christian Parker, does this make us happy? I think so. I think this was a good hire. It's because it's so off type. When was last time the Cowboys went with the unproven, young, first-time defensive coordinator? Ever? I don't think so. I like that move a lot for the Dallas Cowboys, as we've broken down here on the channel quite a few times. Those all, plus some more, came in via super thanks. If you want to get on the show, no matter what, for the mailbag or during the live show itself, super chat or super thanks will get you on air. From Alex, if we take Sonny Styles at 12 or Jamad McCoy or Delane, we'll do it with our second first-round pick at 20. Take a swing and draft Caleb Lomo, Caden Proctor, and rely on your hit in free agency with a guy like Jalen Phillips, or trade down the 20 spot to the Browns to get more draft capital, get a guy like Cassius Howe. I wouldn't mind this scenario, but I don't trust Jerry Jones to do much in free agency. The nice part is we will know what the Cowboys do. Free agency will be over by the time the Cowboys get to the NFL draft. At least actual real impact help pieces in free agency will be over. So you're going to know if you have to get an edge or a corner or a linebacker or a safety. If you take care of corner early, trade down, edge, linebacker, all of those are in play. And they're all valid options because you have to fill the tough, fun part about doing mock drafts now is I can't fill all my needs with 2 first-rounders, so I just pretend I filled it in free agency in the end. Andrew, I just want to point out that Christian Parker coached Donovan Wilson at A&M. Just something to note. He did. It was his first year as a defensive analyst at A&M. It was only year at A&M. Donovan Wilson was there. I don't know how much of a fit Donovan Wilson is going to be for this team. The Fangio system does a lot of too-high shell stuff and will do post-snap rotations. I have seen Donovan Wilson kind of regress as a a mover. Like, he can't hang with tight ends anymore. That was clear last year. Cowboys kept putting him in deep safety spots. Like, if you want to make him into a sub-package box player, okay. I just think, like, every down safety is not the best path. So do you want Donovan Wilson back in 2026? I think I'm going to see a lot of no's here. But let me know. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Matt J, wild thought. What do you think about putting Osa at edge since we have 3 really good defensive tackles? He's closer to defensive end than DT size. I actually would disagree with the idea that he's closer to defensive end size than he is DT size. He's still like 280, 285. That's undersized 3 technique, but I think the closest you'll see is like 5 tech, which, like, for example, think of like what Milton Williams was doing in Philadelphia. I think that is the one-to-one comparison. They're very similar sizes. They're not the biggest guys, but they've had success in that style of defense. Williams has, plus in New England too, by the way. Maybe some 5 technique stuff, even like Cam Hayward is the archetype I always think of when I think of 5 technique. Like, there's someone outside of him still. Maybe it's the linebacker that gets rolled down, or it's Ezraku or something. But I don't think, like, outside of maybe the occasional 4-3 look, but still have the linebacker rolled down next to him, I have a tough time seeing the Cowboys trying to make him into a full-time base end. That's kind of getting us into, in a bad way, Tyrone Crawford territory. Richard Robinson. D-Law was right. Damn. I kind of hate it because D-Law didn't go to Seattle for a championship. He went there for the money, which I don't blame him for. He's just going to get a championship too, maybe. And that's kind of annoying. Like, I hate that. Like, his comments were like he took the biggest contract offer, which is fine. Happened to be from a good team in the end. That's just I hate it. I hate it. William Cook. It is clear from this that free agency is the most critical offseason need. The Cowboys need to pay for Corvettes and not Yugos. Without this change, the defense will not improve. And I agree. If you don't spend money in free agency, you're not going to be good enough. You can't just slap a new DC on this bad boy and say, fixed it. It's all good now. No. Like, you have to actually, like, add talent. You have a personnel problem too. It's not just a coaching staff problem. You got to get guys that fit this defense, and honestly, do it for more than a year. Like, unless Christian Parker allows 550 points, like, that defense is, you're going to have to bring him back next year and have something resembling some stability. Hopefully, as a young guy, you're okay with some more learning on the job than maybe you would be with an experienced option. But you can't just, like, not spend money in free agency, because you're right, William. You're not going to be nearly good enough. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the year out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5. One of our big game Prize Picks lineups, Drake May, more than passing TDs. Ramondre Stevenson, less than rushing yards. And Sam Darnold, more than 2.5 passing yards. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So if you haven't already, join millions of users and sign up for America's number one sports pick app. That's Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. Terry harping on the need to add some talent in free agency. Get it? I got him to smile. With the hire of Parker, do you think we take Delane over Styles at 12? Parker gets his guy. I will say it's late January, so a lot of time to change things. I would not be surprised if that decision is made for you come draft night. I don't think both guys will be there, whether that's Delane or Styles off the board. Maybe you just take the other one. Maybe Jamal McCoy's in the conversation. Edge, you name it. There's a lot of defenders that one of them should be there in theory, unless you get the DJ mock draft all over again. But I wouldn't be surprised if they took a corner. I like Delane a lot. I like Styles a lot too. I would not be mad at either pick. Anthony, what is the most likely outcome for the defensive tackle room? Can we expect all 3 top guys back on restructures or extensions? Thoughts on what will happen? So I would go with the easy one is Osa gets a restructure because that's just built into the deal. Shouldn't be a huge problem. Quinn and I would actually extend and make him a long-term part of your organization since you gave up so much to get him. I'd do that now to save me money in the long run. It also would actually save your cap hit. You could back with the deal like what most teams do. And then Kenny Clark is, I think, a bit more of a toss-up, but big cap hit at $21.5 million. That's a lot. I can't have all 3 guys counting on the cap for 60, is what it is. So extension would make a lot of sense for Clark, maybe more so than a restructure, because that doesn't give you anything other than short-term savings and there's no really push it with the way his deal is structured. William, with all the new DCs, how tough will it be to fill out the coaching staff? You might have some competition. For example, as of filming, no hires made, by the way, but Marcus Dixon was with the Vikings. So was Durante Jones. He might try to pull him into the Commanders' defensive coordinator staff or coaching staff. I wonder how much control Jones will get. Does Dan Quinn get to keep some of his guys there? We'll see. But I think it is just going to be you will be able to get a lot of the guys you want. Maybe not all of them, but honestly, all that turnover kind of benefits you because it means a lot of guys are out of a contract and are available, more so than maybe some other years. From Donnie, Keon Coleman trade. I jokingly tweeted out, Coleman for Mingo, who says no. There were people who said no for the Cowboys side. Okay. Look, I don't think he's going to be a fit in Dallas because I already have guys above him that are better. There's no need for, another backup receiver who doesn't play on special teams, so it's fine. But I think he needs a change of scenery pretty badly. When your owner goes out of his way to, take a shot at the draft process to take you, man, I don't know if you should want to be there anymore. Would anyone be upset? Normally a player demands trade, we're all mad at them. Would anyone be mad if you demanded a trade out of the Bills organization? The owner was just get out of here. We don't like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. So name a player who you want to trade for. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. From Parker, if the Cowboys don't draft a right tackle, would they move Guyton to right tackle? My follow-up question is, okay, who's your left tackle? Nate Thomas? Because he was bad, really bad. Is it Tyler Smith? And if that's the case, then who's your left guard? Is it TJ Bass on an RFA deal? Are you then trying to draft somebody? The area in which I am most intrigued by moving Guyton to right tackle is if you add an obvious impact starter at left tackle, or I guess another spot on the offensive line if you want to do the Tyler Linderbaum, reshuffle everybody pipe dream there. But I don't want to just move him to right tackle and now have a gaping hole at left tackle. That would actually be even more concerning to me. But also, he's played more left tackle at this point and was playing better down the stretch before he got hurt. He has to stay healthy. Roman Wolf game. How come no one is talking about Romello Height? That is the Texas Tech edge rusher, not named David Bailey. Good player. Undersized a little bit. I think his best is a speed pass rusher. I think that 25-ish to 50-ish range would be my guess on where he goes. But that would be noteworthy to me. Ryan Burns, you think Dallas would draft? I assume you mean Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. This might be the Bijan conversation, the Genty conversation of he's great, but he's not there for you, so it ends up not mattering in the end. If you fill your needs, you can take the back. In a way, the running back is dessert for this Cowboys team. He's awesome. I'm a sucker. This is me being very, nerdy, whatever you want to call it. Not basic. Maybe it is basic, whatever. Me being a little bit fancy. I'm a huge fan of creme brulee. It's delicious. I love it. I'm a huge fan of it. But I have to have dinner first. I can't just eat creme brulee. That's disgusting. That's not an option. I can't ignore my defense. So if I'm not eating my meat and potatoes beforehand, my nice steak, medium rare by the way, because I'm an American, and eat properly, I can't just go right to dessert. So I have to address my defense. If I do that in free agency, if I take care of my edge and linebacker and corner and safety needs, and I can go pure BPA, then yes, I can have dessert. But much like when Olivia asked for dessert at 6 o'clock, no, you have to have dinner first. And then she doesn't want to eat dinner, and it's all kinds of chaos there. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed at youtube.com/CowboysTV. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos. Roman Wolf Gaming says, sign Tyler Linderbaum, Hendrickson, Dean, trade next year's one and this year's one for Crosby. Draft Mansoor and Jacob Rodriguez, Michael Taft for safety. Of note, by the way, you cannot actually trade next year's one. It's got conditions attached to it, so that is a no-go. The Linderbaum idea is fun of like, okay, we're going to move this guy to center, or BB to guard, Booker to guard, maybe flip guard spots for Booker, by the way. Smith at left tackle, Guyton at right tackle. It's better offensive line. A lot of moving pieces, though. Hendrickson, Dean, I'm on board with. I love Max Crosby. I'm not sure how likely it ends up being there. I do like the idea of Delane and Rodriguez quite a bit, too. William, I think they will keep Steele at a reduced cost. If he takes a pay cut, I think that would be a pretty nice win for you because it's cheaper. It's much more like you feel better about like the level of play you're getting for the cost. That would be, I think, a pretty decent win. And it's not a glaring need now on your offensive line when you don't want to be out there in the offensive tackle market. It's not a fun place to be. It's how Dan Moore got paid, what, $20 million, and he's bad? Like, Steele's better than him. Look at those contract differences. From Barty, bring back Diggs. I assume this is Trayvon. No. I think that race done been run, baby. There was already clearly frustrations within that Cowboys building with Diggs, with the way he handled the rehab stuff. It wasn't the only reason. I think the final reason of why the Cowboys moved on, I think Diggs burned his last bridge when he didn't listen to his head coach of flying back with the team like the entire team was doing. When that happened and he just ignored the head coach, it was over. That was like, okay, I have tried to support you, and this is how you repay me type of deal. Now, Trayvon Diggs is probably too good to be a Cowboys legend, maybe a little bit. But in the mode of like, they played for the Cowboys, therefore they are a Cowboys legend, drop that name for me in the comments section of today's show. YouTube Jay, I wouldn't mind Nakobe because I would personally sway him to Dallas. He lives in my area. There we go. Problem solved, YouTube Jay. Go be the recruiter, since sometimes the Cowboys organization doesn't do that great of a job of the recruiting side. I do think Dean is a logical fit, by the way, for the Cowboys in free agency. Super chat menu here on today's show. Let me sip my water. No. Anthony Brown, you're thinking of Anthony Bradford. Anthony Brown, he may have been too old on the Cowboys legend side. Herschel Walker was too good. Brady James is a good one. Quincy Carter, Bradley and I. Brett Maher as a kicker, I guess I will out. Rocket Ishmael, it's a good one. Miles Austin was maybe too good, but he wasn't there long enough. Like, Terrence Williams, I think counts too. What a rapid fall he had. He was like decent, good, and got paid and fell apart. That was wild. Mozzie Smith is indeed a Cowboys legend. Is indeed one there. Jaron Kearse, Bruce Carter, that's a good one too. I thought Bruce Carter was going to be really good, I'll be honest with you guys. I thought he was going to be really good. Really good. All right, confidence level in Christian Parker building out his defensive coaching staff. 1 to 10 in the comment section of today's show. Doug Free was maybe too good as well. I don't know. Marion Barber was too good. R.I.P. Mexico League. Terrence Williams went crazy. I wasn't watching. Was it Eddie Lacy or Richardson who was in the Mexico League too? Right? Was one of those two guys? There you go. It's funny. Doug Free maybe a little bit too good. Steve Pallura is always a fun one. Clayton, you've always mentioned him. All right, get your votes in. Confidence level in Christian Parker building a staff. And we'll get to the final segment here of today's show. Today, we're breaking down some possible Cowboys trade candidates, what their value is. We're looking at guys who could maybe have value across the NFL and some players the Cowboys might be willing to trade if they get the right value. We're not doing CeeDee Lamb because the Cowboys aren't going to trade him. They're not doing a Tyler Smith trade, etc. And nobody wants the fifth string corner, as an example. In general, will the Cowboys make a trade before the draft? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way here to start. That is George Pickens, the Pro Bowl second team, I believe it was, all-pro wide receiver. Now, he will be a free agent this year. So this would be a tag and trade scenario. We've seen that happen in years past in the NFL. The franchise tag will cost about $28 million. Give or take, that's the ballpark they are in. Now, to be clear, I would simply pay George Pickens because I want to keep my good players, and the Cowboys don't always do that in the end. But if you were to trade him, and maybe you don't get this because of all the other stuff that led to Pickens' value not being that high when you got him in the trade from the Steelers, don't you at least ask for the A.J. Brown trade? At minimum, aren't you doing that? And that trade, as a reminder, Eagles got A.J. Brown, paid him a big fat new contract. The Titans got a first-round pick and a third-round pick. At minimum, aren't you looking for that as the package? Because otherwise, what's the point? And you would almost want to do it before free agency, because otherwise those cap savings, you don't really benefit from them. You don't get to use them until after the draft, essentially. So if you're gonna do it, whatever you do with Pickens, I would advocate for doing it early. I would simply pay him, to be clear on that. But if you're gonna shop him, I would have an extremely high asking price because he had a top 5 wide receiver output season this year. It's not easy to find those guys. I would just keep him with Dak and Lamb and Pickens, let that trio try to have success as you try everything else to fix your defense with all of your other money and draft picks that you do have available. Now, again, if you were to trade Pickens, what would you want back in a deal? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Is it a first and more? Sound off in the comments of today's show. Kenny Clark is next up here, the defensive tackle. And this one is a bit complicated by the contract. $21.5 million. And that is the number for everything here. It is his cap hit for the Cowboys. It is the savings for the Cowboys if they trade him. And it is what the new team would owe, because that $21.5 million is just basically non-guaranteed cash coming up this year. That contract is a lot. You would want to extend him if you're going to trade for him. And because of that kind of complicated contract situation, I think day 3 pick, maybe it's a 4, maybe it's a 5, I think is the best you're going to get back for Kenny Clark. Again, because of the money involved, if you're going to do it, you have to do it early. Otherwise, you don't benefit from the savings, and it reduces the number of teams that are willing to bring him into the fold. I thought Clark was pretty solid last year. I don't know how much we can really judge any one individual player on the defense because of how bad it was. So I would, at this point, with the way the Cowboys have kind of adopted their defensive coaching staff search, I would lean to just keeping your defensive tackles. We'll get to the other guy that makes some sense here at that spot in a little bit. He is getting up there in age. It might only be like a 2-year extension with an out after that second year to make it a 3-year deal total. But again, if you're trying to get stuff back in a trade, you have to actually give up something of value. The Air Pickens shirts, speaking of George Pickens, are still available. Chatsports.com/Pickens. This is the design of the shirt, and then this is what it looks like on the shirt itself. Links in the live chat. It'll be in the comments section and the description as well. It's Shopify, the chatsports.com/Pickens link will automatically redirect you to it. Let's go to Osa Odigizua here, the other defensive tackle. They're not trading away Quinnen, so he's off the board altogether in this conversation. $20.75 million cap hit. If the Cowboys were to trade away Osa Odigizua, they would actually only save $4.75 million. That's not very much money. A restructure actually would save them significantly more money. Just because of the way it's set up, it's designed to be restructured. A restructure would save them about $12 million. It's a lot more savings. New team would owe about $6.75 million. So you're not saving very much. The new team owes a lot of money. I think we're in the day 3 pick range. Maybe it's a little bit more than Clark because of the age and the contract already being paid out, but the signing bonus wasn't that much of the contract in the end. So I think that it doesn't drastically change the outlook for you if you're trading him. I'm hoping that a better defensive coordinator will lead to some of those pressures. Osa does a good job of getting pressures. He hasn't converted them to sacks yet, and he's very much not the Batman. He can be the Robin to a defensive lineman, which was Micah, and hopefully Quinnen long term. But I think you need more than just him up front. I think it was just as we saw early in the season. Now, of the big 3 DTs, would you trade any of them this offseason? Y for yes, N for no? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I'm going to put Terrence Steele on this list, the right tackle for the Cowboys. And in large part, this might end up being similar to the La'el Collins saga, where the Cowboys actually did that right. They shopped him. They leaked that there was trade interest in Collins, even though there was no trade interest, in an effort to create said trade interest. The money is $18.13 on the cap this year. The Cowboys would save $8.75 if they traded him. It's the same as the cut pre-June 1st. New team would owe $14 million. On one hand, the contract is a lot. On the other, you don't want to be out there in the right tackle market. It's not a fun spot to be unless you want to go aging, declining Braden Smith. Like, if Terrence Steele were to get cut, I have a chance he is a top 3 tackle available in free agency. I think because of the contract, because you might be moving on anyway, day 3 pick swap, maybe. And at that point, it also comes down to, well, would you rather have the post-June 1st savings instead, which is more money, can't use till after June 1st in the end. Steele, I don't think he's ever going to be an elite pass protector. He's just not. He is a survivable, when he's playing well, pass protector, although he did kind of regress a bit as a run blocker. So I would lean towards Steele more likely being cut, but it's at least possible. Jake Ferguson is next up here, the tight end for the Cowboys. Did just get extended, but this contract kind of is tradable, and that's why I lean towards a no on this one. $10.4 million cap hit. Once again, if you just wanted to restructure him, you would save a lot more money on that front. You save less than $1 million if you were to trade away Jake Ferguson. So you're not getting any savings. The new team would owe $8 million. You'd save about $4 million more if you were just to restructure him. The Cowboys just paid their Pro Bowler. He's not really a Pro Bowler. We all know that, and it's fine. But I think the value is like mid to late day 3 pick. It's not really a huge needle mover in the end, and I think that's why for this year at least you're better off just keeping him. So name a player that you want to trade away. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I bet I get some Luke Schoonmakers in the comments. And maybe because of the draft pick investment, somebody gives you a trade offer. $2 million-ish cap hit. It's actually pretty cheap. It's not like the money is a big issue here. It's just the non-impact. Cowboys would save and new team would owe $1.6 million if they traded away Luke Schoonmaker. I think the best case is it's the Peyton Hendershot trade, where someone gives you a conditional future day 3 pick. He hasn't made an impact. He hasn't been productive. It's really hard for me to see any team out there going like, you know what we need on this roster? We need Luke Schoonmaker. Let's go give a 5th-round pick for him. Like I just have a tough time seeing that happening. He's been a pretty massive disappointment from this team. Hey, I'd say Mike McCarthy can come get his guy, but they have tight ends in Pittsburgh, so probably not going to happen. Now, if and when the Cowboys make a trade, we have you covered. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. One bonus name I'll throw out there as a Cowboys trade candidate is kicker Brandon Aubrey. Would not be surprised, if only as a placeholder, the Cowboys use the 2nd-round RFA tender on Aubrey. And if a team wants to come through and give a record-setting kicker contract to Brandon Aubrey and give you a 2nd-round pick, I actually would consider it. I don't think that's going to happen because it's a kicker, and that's not how NFL teams operate. But you could actually argue, frankly, that he's so good as a kicker, it actually hurts your offense because you're too willing to trust him. When your defense is so bad, you need to be ultra aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. 4 names I want to throw in here as well that I think are not going to have trade value, more likely cut candidates there. Malik Hooker, Logan Wilson, nobody wants Jonathan Mingo, and no one's trading for a punter in Brian Anger either. Other names, Damone Clark's not on your roster. Kenneth Murray is a free agent, so no trade there, by the way, folks. Back to the pin poll. Do you like the hire of Christian Parker? Y for yes, N for no. 96% voting yes. Y for yes, N for no. I think it's a yes. It's different in a good way than what the Cowboys have done in recent years. Feels like a pretty big win to me in the end. All right, if you haven't already, please make sure you guys are subscribed at youtube.com/CowboysTV. Free videos each and every single day right here on the channel. Multiple videos more often than not. So hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. As we sign off here, no news on other coaching staff moves yet for the Cowboys. We will have updates for you on the channel when they happen. So make sure you guys are subscribed.